Jeff Bezos just bought Wyoming. And overnight, one billionaire now controls enough land, infrastructure, and economic influence to completely reshape an entire American state. But this wouldn't just be another billionaire real estate purchase. It could become the beginning of something much bigger. Because if someone like Jeff Bezos ever controlled enough land, infrastructure, housing, transportation systems, and economic influence inside a single state, Wyoming might stop feeling like part of America entirely. And honestly, the craziest part about this scenario is that it doesn't even feel impossible anymore. Jeff Bezos has repeatedly hovered between $180 and $220 billion in estimated net worth, depending on Amazon stock performance. At certain levels of wealth, billionaires stop operating like normal business owners. They begin operating more like private economic superpowers. Over the past 2 decades, Bezos transformed Amazon from a small online bookstore into one of the most powerful corporations on Earth. Amazon now generates over $575 billion in annual revenue, while Amazon Web Services alone produces tens of billions in profit every single year. Amazon already controls enormous portions of online retail, cloud computing, logistics, advertising, AI infrastructure, streaming, and delivery systems. But Bezos himself has also evolved far beyond traditional business. He's invested in private space exploration through Blue Origin, automation, robotics, artificial intelligence, logistics systems, media ownership, and massive land acquisitions across the United States. At certain levels of wealth, billionaires stop thinking in terms of buildings. They start thinking in terms of systems. And that's exactly why Wyoming becomes so interesting. Because Wyoming feels almost designed for a futuristic corporate expansion project. The state has fewer than 600,000 residents spread across nearly 98,000 square miles of land. Wyoming's GDP sits around $50 billion annually, smaller than the yearly revenue generated by many major corporations. Entire regions remain largely undeveloped. Land prices in many areas remain dramatically lower than coastal states, and Wyoming already has one of the most business-friendly tax environments in America. No state income tax, low population density, massive energy resources, huge open landscapes, low regulation, strategic positioning for logistics and infrastructure expansion. And unlike crowded coastal states, Wyoming has room. A lot of room. Financially, the idea sounds absurd at first. But once you actually break the numbers down, it starts becoming surprisingly believable. Much of Bezos' wealth exists in Amazon stock ownership rather than cash. But billionaires at this level rarely operate using traditional purchasing methods anyway. They borrow against assets. They finance infrastructure. They negotiate tax incentives. They partner with investment firms. And most importantly, they think long-term. The goal wouldn't literally be purchasing the state government. The real goal would be controlling enough infrastructure, land, transportation systems, and economic activity that the company itself becomes functionally inseparable from Wyoming's economy. And honestly, Amazon already has experience doing exactly that on smaller scales. Across America, entire cities already depend heavily on Amazon warehouses, fulfillment centers, and logistics hubs for jobs and tax revenue. Now imagine scaling that idea to an entirely different level. Massive automated distribution hubs spread across Wyoming. Drone delivery highways stretching across open landscapes. AI-controlled traffic systems. Autonomous trucking corridors operating 24 hours a day. Private renewable energy farms powering giant logistics centers. Entire futuristic smart towns built around Amazon infrastructure. A single next-generation logistics hub alone could realistically cost several billion dollars to build and operate. At that point, Wyoming stops looking like a rural western state. It starts looking like the testing ground for the future of corporate-controlled infrastructure. And economically, some people would probably love it. Wyoming's economy could potentially absorb tens of billions of dollars in infrastructure investment over time. Construction jobs would explode, Technology workers would move in. Housing demand would surge. Small towns could modernize rapidly. Road systems, airports, internet infrastructure, and transportation networks could all improve dramatically. Entire new smart cities could emerge in regions that currently contain almost nothing. And if even 200,000 to 300,000 new workers eventually migrated into Wyoming over the next decade, the state's economy and population structure could fundamentally transform. But that growth would also come with major consequences. Housing prices could become unaffordable for locals. Ranching communities could slowly disappear. Local businesses might struggle competing against Amazon-owned infrastructure. And culturally, Wyoming itself could fundamentally change forever. That's where this video starts becoming less about technology and more about power. Because at what point does a corporation stop behaving like a company and start behaving like a government? If Amazon controls the infrastructure, the jobs, the transportation systems, the housing development, the energy systems, and most of the economic activity in the state, then who actually holds the real power? And honestly, many people would probably support it at first. Higher wages, better infrastructure, economic modernization, technology investment, job growth. For younger workers especially, a futuristic Wyoming filled with high-paying technology and logistics jobs could sound incredibly attractive. And that's what makes this scenario feel so believable. Because corporate influence rarely arrives looking dangerous at first. It arrives looking efficient. Now imagine how visually different Wyoming itself would become. The open highways filled with autonomous Amazon trucks, massive drone delivery towers rising out of the desert landscape, gigantic AI-powered logistics hubs glowing across the plains at night, luxury corporate housing developments designed for high-income technology workers, private airports, advanced rail systems, automated shipping centers larger than entire towns, and somewhere in the middle of all of it, Bezos himself, not necessarily acting like a politician, but acting more like the architect of an entirely new economic system. And the political implications would immediately become massive. The federal government would likely investigate antitrust concerns almost immediately. Critics would argue that no billionaire should possess that level of influence over a U.S. state. Others would argue that Wyoming voluntarily benefited from the investment and economic transformation. And honestly, both sides would probably have valid arguments. Because the reality is that America already allows corporations to exert enormous influence over local economies. This scenario simply pushes that idea to its logical extreme. And the craziest part? Technology is rapidly making scenarios like this more realistic every single year. Artificial intelligence, autonomous transportation, private infrastructure, corporate housing, advanced logistics, private energy systems, large-scale automation. All of these industries already exist. All Bezos would really be doing is combining them together in one place. At some point, Wyoming could stop being viewed as just another American state. It could become the prototype for the first truly corporate integrated territory in modern America. And maybe that sounds ridiculous today. But decades ago, the idea of one company controlling global shopping, streaming, cloud computing, AI infrastructure, and space technology would have sounded ridiculous too. That's what makes this scenario so fascinating. It feels absurd, but it also feels close enough to reality to make people uncomfortable. Because maybe the future won't be countries competing against countries anymore. Maybe it'll be corporations competing against governments. And if you want more realistic future scenarios like this, make sure to like and subscribe.